Hey guys, it's always noisy where I am. It does my head in so much. I might have to move again. So if I stop all of a sudden, it's because I've had to move to a different room. Okay. By the way, this is Samuel. This is my new plant. It just seems such a waste to spend so much money on flowers every week when they're all dying. So I've actually got a plant, and it's called a calla lily. I think that's how you pronounce it. You know I'm crap with my pronunciations, guys. You should know me by now. We had a lot of questions here. Now I did tune into the energy. And I also picked a card. I was thinking about Frank and say, Frank, have you got a message for anybody here? Okay. So this is the card we're going to have something nice to look at. You know what I'm like, I always pull a card out when I do a reading on any celebrity at all, okay? So the message was, I'm leading you towards the answer to your prayers. Please listen to and follow the steps I'm communicating through your intuition, thoughts and dreams. So this is the card. When I thought about him, I said, I'm doing a reading about you today. It's okay. If you've got any information, bring it through, and can you give a message to the readers? This is the one I got, which is really nice. Here we go. First question. Did Frank ever have a romantic interest in Marilyn Monroe? To be honest, some of the stuff that comes through is actually quite funny, okay? Some of it's a bit shocking, but it's also old school sense of humour. I'm just going to say it now. When I said that, straight away, who didn't? Who didn't? Okay, so who didn't have a romantic interest in Marilyn Monroe? And then it was, let's see, she was the epitome of the Hollywood bombshell, the classic virgin whore complex. And when he says that, I know that sounds a bit full on, but what he means is that she had this innocence about her that also appealed to women, as in she could be very sweet and charming in nature, okay? But also she was obviously a goddess as well. I mean, she had an incredible sex appeal, but she still had that little girl personality, the voice and everything like that. So that's what he's trying to get across here, okay? And then he says they don't make them like they don't make them like they used to. That was another thing that came across when it came to Marilyn. Now, I did have questions on the JFK assassination, guys, but I'm not going to go over it all again because I've done a YouTube video on that, so you have to look for it, okay? There's a lot of information on that, and there's a lot of information on Marilyn Monroe as well, okay? So I'm not going to go through that all again, but I did have, he was fully aware of how she passed, okay? The real reason she passed. She didn't pass peacefully, you know. I've always had foul play with this, okay? So he was fully aware of how she passed, and he regretted he did not do more at the time, but it was pick a side and she was the weaker one. Now, that is a really intense thing to say, but as in, Marilyn was crashing anyway in regards to mental health, prescription drugs, and he was in some really hard, I don't just mean the mafia here, obviously Frank did have ties to the mafia, okay, come on, we're stupid to think that he didn't, but heavily in politics as well, and the politics are what scared him the most, because they were the most dangerous ones, he's kind of saying. So it's literally pick a side in that respect, and she had the weaker side, and it was either going to be her or him, and he was scared for his life as well here, I really sense that. But in his later life, yes, there was regret. There was regret he didn't stand in and do more to get her away from the situation. And I'm picking up now, but the issue with Marilyn is you could give her a warning, but she always followed her heart. And I do feel this is to do with the Kennedy romances, okay? So no matter what, she's going to pursue it. She's going to follow it. And she wasn't in the right frame of mind either through drugs, alcohol anyway. So he couldn't talk her out of it. You know, she just thought she was onto a good thing with these connections to the Kennedys. So even though I feel he warned her, I almost see him grabbing her by the arm at some point like that and saying, wait, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, but she laughed it off kind of thing. So he wishes he had done more for sure, but he was scared as well, okay? Now, next question. Was Frank really in love with Mia Farrow? Yes, he was, okay, because there was an innocence in her that he missed and saw in himself before he started to become really, really flawed, okay? I've got to stop saying okay, I'm sorry, it's just the way I always speak, I'm say okay a million times. He definitely did love her, there was love there. He says he became flawed and she was the innocence before he became flawed. It reminded him of the purity of what his life was in the early days, okay? Because back then, he was too heavily involved with politics, alcohol, gambling, and binges was the word that came through. So it's almost like he saw in her there was still purity in the world and she was an angelic being. But over time, she lost her crown as he saw it and the facade fell off. which for me means, to be honest, this is just a man kind of ego thing, that she became independent and started getting rave reviews and doing well in her own journey. And I feel that was a threat to him. That was a threat. So there was ego based in there as well, guys. I mean, come on. But yeah, he saw her as very pure and very light. Now, is Frank really the father of journalist Ronan Farrow? Now, I admit they look spitting image of each other, but I have to say, on this one, I sense no. And what you need to remember is, if you look at pictures of Mia and Frank as well when they were younger, they do have similar features as well. They have very wide set eyes, especially when she's got her hair cropped quite short. If you look at a young Frank as well, they have similar features. And if you look at a young Mia compared to Ronan, they look very alike as well when they both got short hair. So I feel it's more like a soulmate connection where you do have similar features to your partner. This is going to sound really weird, guys, but my current partner, people think he's my brother. People have even said, is he your twin? So I feel when it comes to me and Frank, it's almost like they had similar features, and that's why everyone thinks that. This is how I sense in my gut. You are welcome to think differently, guys, okay? But I just feel I've got to go by my instincts here. And I also heard, this made me laugh so much. When I said straight away, this is what I heard, okay? Is Frank really the father of journalist Ronan Farrow? No. Shooting blanks on this one. So I don't feel it is, okay? Right. Did Frank regret leaving his first wife, Ava Gardner? Yes, but they were also on and off forever. So he knew if he would go back, it would just be the same. And he was over the theatrics of it all, I hear. He was drawn to Mia's flower power spirituality because she was calm and peaceful. That's it. So it's almost like I heard the words here as well. Mia was a peaceful haven, whereas Ava was the storm. So it was that time in his life where he was older. He didn't want the dramatics I'm getting from it. He didn't want the dramatics. He didn't. He wanted nurturing. He wanted somebody to take care of him at that time in his life. Ava wasn't the person to do it. She's not going to take care of any man in that sense. Since she's highly independent, she's going to do her own thing. She's going to make herself happy. And if you say something she doesn't like, she's a diva, yeah? To be honest, fair enough to her. She's a strong woman. Right. Did Frank have any regrets over certain professional and personal relationships and decisions he made in his life? Yes, of course he did. But that's how you learn. Now, this saying came through and I had to Google it because I didn't even get what he meant at first, okay? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So that's a saying, okay? But Frank added, there is not a third chance here. There's not a third chance for this. If you do that with me, no. And then it came through, I have a memory like an elephant. So he's not going to forget if you wind him up, all right? He might give you one or two oh, here we go. He goes, can't be completely honest there because if they had a pretty face, they'd get more chances. That's actually quite funny. Right. Do you miss these old Vegas days with the Rat Pack? Now, this is the information that came through. The male bonding, yes. The jokes and the laughs, yes. The hedonism, less so, because it took its toll on him. And also in later life, it came across that he was embarrassed about some of my brattish behaviour. So they say it's like the Rat Pack, the Rattish Pack, and it's almost like he's joking saying it's Brattish Pack. It's the Brattish Pack, not the Rat Pack, okay? They were brats. They were brats. So some of the things he did, he used to do things to cocktail waitresses to get a laugh as well. I do feel some of them even tried to light up a bunny tail. You know, you get those Playboy bunny costumes. There's something about a joke saying lighting up the tail when someone was drunk. Not Frank, but he got a laugh out of it. It's that kind of pulling jokes on cocktail waitresses, which at the time was funny, but looking back in later life, he realised like how awful they were to be around, basically. That's so weird. I'm going to Google that when I come off, guys, because I actually want to know if they actually did try and light up a bunny's, Playboy bunny's tail. Right, because I'm getting a clear image of something, or feathers on the back, and them lighting it up on a woman, like a waitress or cocktail waitress. Okay. Did he really like Sammy Davis? Now, this is interesting because, again, I had to look at this after this information came through because I thought it's probably an age gap, and apparently there is a 10-year age gap. So Sammy Davis is 10 years younger than Frank. He says it was very conflicted in this relationship because Sammy was an easy punching bag as he would get riled up so easily. So it's almost like, because they knew he would go from 0 to 10, they like to wind him up. And I get jokes again about them being, the Rat Pack, as in Frank might say, hey, that guy over there is giving you like the stink eye. In the UK, we say evil eye. I'm getting the word stink eye. Don't know what that means. I think it means like the same thing, giving you a bad look, to get in a fight and cause trouble. And I even see Sammy like lobbing a bottle at someone's head. So they used to like to wind him up. But they also said he was an easy punching bag because he would get riled up so easily, but I knew where to draw the line also. Also, there was a clash of egos. Each one wanted to be the bigger star, and Sammy was not about to take my crown. Also, there was jealousy as Frank appealed to a different generation. Now, when I got that line, I had to Google the generation gap, and there was one of 10 years. So I get what he means, as in, he's saying Sammy's sense of humour was slick and fresh, and Frank could not follow on it. So it was a different way they appealed to different audiences. And because he was younger, he was seen as cooler. So that's what Frank felt a bit threatened more when he came on and did the jokes as the comedian. I hear Frank couldn't follow up with that sense of comedy, with that type of comedy. He just... And I also hear sometimes he felt like he was the butt of the joke because of it as well. He didn't quite understand it. This made me laugh a lot, guys. Now, this is probably the funniest thing he said in my eyes. Okay, this is an amazing question, by the way. Who asked this one? This is really good. What does he think about today's music? This is very interesting, actually. So he's still into old school. So old school jazz, that kind of thing, would be more his thing. Anything melodic as well. So melodies will always play at me. As in, he likes melodies. So even if it's a modern track, if it's got a really good melody, he will like it. All right? He likes them, but he does have an appreciation for 1 or 2 modern dance tracks that have sampled some really old music. So some of this he actually likes. Some of this he likes because he thinks the person in question would be fuming for ruining their song. And he sees it as some of the new ones that have taken samples from old singers were actually better than the original. And because Frank did not like these people, he gets a chuckle out of it. So that was really funny. So say, I don't want to say Elvis because I love Elvis. Just say it was an old celebrity, 40s, 50s, and someone now took a sample of one of their songs. So Frank didn't like that person. He liked it because he think they get riled up about it. It just made me laugh. I thought it was really funny. Last thing. Rumour is Frank Sinatra was a perfectionist. If that's true, how? This is quite full on, guys. I'm going to tell you now. This is actually very full on. He definitely was. So yes, when it came to the bandstand. So I don't know I think he always had a band that played with him, didn't he? But this is information. Yes, with the bandstand. Mess up, you're gone. If you're late, you're gone. If you think you own the show, you're gone. Flattery will get you everywhere with him. So if somebody was younger and up and coming, like I'm on about 30 years late, there was the musician that was backing him. If they could flatter him and say, actually, Frank, with your voice, I think this chord would be better, they could get away with it. Okay? That's what he means by flattery, because I run the show, is the information coming through. I run the show. What he didn't like also was when somebody in the bandstand, percussion, for example, or the drums, would try and do their own thing and outplay Sinatra, because it was his show after all. And this is the line. I know we can say, well, that's a bit petty, it's an upcoming star, you should support them. But the way he sees it is, this is a great line, an amazing line. I want to use this. I might get this on a t-shirt, guys. Don't use my fame to make yours. What a line. So that's how it came across. Don't use my fame and my show to make your own fame. Do the bloody hard work yourself, mate. You're not riding on my coattails. That's literally the information that came through. So in that respect, guys, yes, I would say he was a perfectionist. Last question. I said that the other one was last, but hey, you get an extra bonus question. Is Ava Gardner his twin flame? I feel for sure here. I actually feel Mia would be more of a soulmate connection, as somebody that did have the ability to be a longer lasting partner and more stable. Whereas Ava was one of those extremely passionate, can't live with them, can't live without them. With me, it was more a kind of even sexual, a purity and an innocence. Even in lovemaking, it was intense. But with Ava, it was fireworks, dynamite. And it was can't live with each other, can't live without each other, that kind of thing. But he outgrew her, he outgrew her. So I don't know who left who there actually. But it's almost like he was tired of it. He got exhausted through it all. I just said amateur dramatics, which I think is a bit of a dig at her because obviously she's an actress, but that's a bit of a dig. But overall, yeah, I would say it was definitely a twin flame kind of connection there. Right, guys, so that's everything today. That's all the information that came through, okay? And I'm off for the day, and people have asked how I do this. It's literally you give me a question and I get information. You could say it's some spirit, you could say it's from Frank's energy, but I am aware that I can pick up energies of things that happened in the past. So I can almost tune in to somebody in that situation, see how they felt then, because my biggest thing I would say is always being in readings, not so much psychic, but more empathic, as in I can kind of feel people's emotions and how they felt at the time. So that's why a lot of the information comes through. And then the information spirit will be when I'm talking to you and all the information's already written down. I've already gone through everything, all your questions, the information came through, and then I get extra inputs. And for me, that's usually spirit themselves saying, they'll add an extra word in there, or they'll add an extra line, and that's them coming through. So it's like a mishmash of everything. It's energy work, it's being empath, it's spiritual work, I would say clairvoyancy, or probably more clairaudience, because at the moment now, I've developed more hearing than I have seeing. It used to be only visual, now it's more hearing. Bloody hell, that was a mouthful. Right, say bye to Samuel. I love Samuel. I'm really proud of my plant because I'm not allowed a pet. And that's it. Bye, guys. Love you all. Bye, guys.